If you're trying to break into cybersecurity, there are a few mistakes that will completely slow down your progress, and most beginners don't even realize that they're making them. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the top 3 beginner mistakes that you need to avoid. Number 1, chasing credentials over experience. Now, academics may build your resume, but experience builds your confidence. See, in cybersecurity, many people get degrees, but this doesn't necessarily lead to a job. I can tell you from my own experience, I wanted to move from being a carpenter to being in IT in general. So what happened is I took the normal path. I started going to college, I got my associate's degree, and while I was working on my bachelor's degree, I started applying for jobs. Because the thought was, oh, I have my associate's degree. Yeah, I'll be able to get a job, right? Nope. I put in probably about 100 applications and nobody, and I mean nobody, called me back. Not one callback, not one interview. So out of frustration, I ended up joining the military and letting them train me to be an IT person. Now, I know of lots of other stories of people who have experienced this same thing. So a couple of months ago, the water heater in my house broke. And so a plumber came by and he was replacing my water heater. He mentioned he had a granddaughter that got her degree in cybersecurity. It was a bachelor's degree, and now she's working as a bank teller because she cannot find a job as a cybersecurity person. And this is because she fell into that same trap that I did. We start working on the academics, but we don't have the experience. This is a big beginner's mistake. There's also the case of people who go around gathering up a bunch of industry certifications, like CompTIA certifications and others, but the certifications end up being kind of worthless because they don't have the experience to back it up. You know, they just studied for the test and then they dumped all of their knowledge onto that test. And when it comes time to interview for a job, they don't have any projects to talk about with their interviewer. Here's a big one that I learned the hard way. When it comes to IT, tech, cybersecurity, especially, learning does not occur in the classroom. Learning occurs in the lab. It's hands-on experience that gives you the confidence. If you have a resume that is thickly padded with degrees and certifications, but you don't really have experience and you don't really know what you're talking about, the hiring manager is going to sniff you out during the interview process. They can tell. You know, the term for somebody who has a bunch of certifications but no experience is called a paper cert because all of their knowledge is on paper. So don't be one of those people. On the flip side, I'm pushing you to get experience, but keep in mind that when you do go to get a certification, if you have a bunch of that experience already, when it comes time to test for the cert, your experience is going to make the testing process a lot easier because you already have a ton of the background knowledge. Now, I know some of the more experienced people will argue, and rightly so, that, hey, if you have a bunch of experience already, you may mess up on a test question because you know that the test question is wrong or vague. And that's true too. I've experienced that myself. Many other people in the industry have experienced that. However, going into the certification test, you will have way more confidence, and that is gold come test time. So to avoid mistake number 1, which is chasing credentials over experience, get a home lab. Start building and practicing. I cannot stress this enough. Your time working in your home lab, that is priceless. That knowledge will stick way more than something you read in a book, trust me. Now let's go to mistake number 2. Beginners try to learn everything all at once. Beginners try to learn everything all at once. This is a huge mistake. Think about energy. If you scatter energy in all directions, its power dissipates very quickly. But if you focus that energy onto a single point, you can blast through solid rock. So in that vein of thought, find an area of cybersecurity that really interests you and run that down as deep as you can. I don't care if it's pen testing, I don't care if it's building a SIEM, I don't care if it's networking. Pick something that you enjoy and that interests you. Run that down. You are going to learn a ton in this manner. Master that one area before you move to the next one. And you'll find out as you do this a few times, you learn networking, you run that down really deep. You learn forensics, you run that down really deep. I wouldn't suggest necessarily you start with forensics because that gets deep really quick. But as you do this a couple of times and you iterate over that same process, picking something, running with it, you'll find that your understanding of IT and cyber will accumulate, and you'll be able to pick up things way faster the next iteration because you have so much. Your knowledge base has been built out so much when you actually do this process. Now it takes a long time, so a lot of people, they get frustrated and they want to go fast. But trust me, pick something, run it down. You will be thankful you did later. Okay, mistake number 3. They try to learn in a vacuum. They learn in a vacuum. This is another one that's a big problem. Yes, you can get your home lab. You can start building things. You will learn a ton. You will learn a ton that way. However, learning cyber alone is like going to a gym without a gym buddy. Like, yes, you'll see progress. You'll build muscle. However, you're going to have more fun if you're with somebody else, and your progress is going to be faster if you have a gym buddy. Now, why am I saying this? Well, when it comes to memory retention, conversations with others helps that memory really stick. So your recall of certain concepts is going to be strengthened immensely by having that conversation with other people that are learning the same thing. So that's a huge bonus. Also, sharing knowledge benefits both parties. When you share knowledge with somebody, they learn a little bit, and then the idea is reinforced in your mind as well. When they share knowledge with you, it's the opposite. You learn a little bit, and the ideas are reinforced in their mind as well. This thing where people who are new try to learn in a vacuum, and I'm telling you not to do that. There's a sneaky little trick as to why I'm telling you this. Not only will you learn faster with a group of friends, but also you'll find out when you get into the real job market that your networking is really what leads to jobs. Yes, you have to have the knowledge set, absolutely. You have to have the project experience, but you have to have a network of friends. Almost every IT and cybersecurity job I've gotten has been through people I know. Rarely ever have I gotten a job offer based off of, resume only and interview only. It's almost always through people, and especially the good jobs. The FANG level organizations, the Googles, the Amazons, and so on. Usually you're going to get those jobs through somebody you know. So when I'm saying don't learn in a vacuum, I'm trying to help you learn faster, and I'm also trying to give you a leg up by telling you build your network early, okay? Because it's going to pay off in spades later. So find a group of like-minded friends that you really kind of vibe with and do projects together. Talk about your experiences and so on. Even chat boards are good for that. Discord groups are good for that. Anything to get that conversation flowing and to swap troubleshooting stories and so on. Now, I know the title of this video is The 3 Mistakes That Entry-Level Cybersecurity People Make, but I'm going to throw in a bonus one for you guys because this was huge in my career. And it goes, not learning how networks operate. That's another huge mistake that people make. Not learning networking. I can't tell you how much of a difference this made in my career. The problem is, especially with cybersecurity, 99% of attacks travel across the network first. You have to understand how networks operate. I was in IT and cybersecurity for a while before I really learned how networks operate. I got my CCNA. That CCNA gave me so much confidence and so much more understanding of how IT in general works. I can't stress to you enough how much of a benefit that will be to your career to understand networking. A lot of people, a lot of kids grow up using computers, Instagram and so on, and video games and so on, but not a lot of them understand networking. So a lot of people getting into the industry are going to be good already with the computer itself, but the majority of them aren't going to be very good with networks. So you need to beef up that area of your knowledge, because networking provides the framework for all of your cyber knowledge. Once you have that framework, you can flesh out all the different areas of your understanding. But that framework of networking is like the baseline. Because if you think about it, pen testing requires networking knowledge. Cybersecurity engineering definitely requires networking knowledge. Being a cybersecurity analyst definitely requires networking knowledge. So having that networking knowledge set makes everything so much easier. So to wrap up, go easy on yourself. You're not going to learn everything overnight. Sometimes I'll tell people that cybersecurity is kind of like learning to be a doctor. And you know how doctors have specialists? You have people will become an MD, but then, maybe they'll just stick with family practice. Maybe they'll become a foot doctor. Maybe they'll become a surgeon. Cybersecurity has all these different specialties. Everybody has kind of a baseline knowledge, but everybody will have kind of a specialty. And it takes a while to develop those specialties. So be patient with yourself. It takes time, and that's okay. Also, prioritize hands-on learning over certifications and degrees. You're going to get a lot more bang for your buck when it comes to your time investment when you do hands-on learning and projects and so on. And remember, completing projects in a lab gives you the ability to go into a tech interview with a lot of confidence already. Anyway, that's all I have for now. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope this helped, and we'll talk at you later. We'll see you in the next one.